Call to order for the Town of St. John Redevelopment Commission regular meeting. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Beth.
Gerald Swets.
Present.
Christian Jorgensen.
Present.
Mike Bovat.
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Ann Oster.
Present.
Bill Manisopoulos.
Present.
Joe Svetnoff.
Here.
And Beth Hernandez, present.
Thank you. Item 4, approval of minutes. A02/28/2024 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in
Can we
favor?
have a discussion on it? You're talking about the February minutes, right?
For the town council. This is the RDC.
Oh, gosh, I'll settle for that. I'm sorry.
You're good. I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, old business. No old business. Item 6, new business. A, consider motion to approve the Baker Tilly professional service agreements related to the GO Bond Series 2024, establish certain allocation areas in EDA 1, and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, to establish certain allocation areas in EDA 2 and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, and the establishment of EDA 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Item B, consider motion to approve the Barnes and Thornburg Professional Services Agreement to establish certain allocation areas in EDA 1 and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, to establish certain allocation areas in EDA 2 and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, and the establishment of EDA 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there time for comments on this?
Sure, you can have a comment.
Okay, I had some questions on the EDA 3. I thought we were going to get some instruction on this before we actually had to vote on it.
So we have Phil Facenda in the crowd. If you'd like, if you have some questions that you'd like answered.
Sure, we can.
Fantastic.
We could have Mr. Phil to come up, please, and Mr. Swets, if you'd like to direct a question to him.
Members of the council, Phil Facenda from Barnes and Thornburg.
Thank
How you
you.
doing, Phil? Good to
Good
see you.
evening.
Thank you for being here this evening. Yeah, so my question is on the establishment of the EDA 3, because I believe we haven't had that in the past, and it's a brand-new area,
Right. Yes, correct. A brand new area.
and it's residential only?
So it will be residential. Yes, correct.
So we're going to set up a TIF zone and an EDA zone for residential only with no commercial in it at all?
Correct. And the reason for that is, so there will be other residential that are contemplated as well. You may recall that the age-restricted housing that was done by the town 2 years ago, similar in nature. So these are residential housing TIFs. You can collect TIF revenue on the development of residential property.
Right, but the TIF revenue, then, if we set it up as a TIF, then the schools don't get their portion, is that correct? It comes to the town?
Well, right, so it would be, no other taxing units receive the TIF. The TIF is the TIF, and it all goes into and is retained in that location to do improvements within the location.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the reason we did that in the TIF area 2 is so that we could develop the commercial corridor that's going to be along 109th.
You
And
can,
so we tied
yeah.
the age-restricted housing into that to make that a commercial area that we could develop. to develop and come up with a whole new EDA that's strictly going to be for residential, I'm opposed to that, especially if it's not age restricted. Is everything?
No, this will not be age restricted.
Yeah, so
This
then
is
the school's
residential
not gonna get
only.
the money, but yet the kids are gonna go to school there. I know they're not all Lake Central, but
Yeah.
there could be some Hanover, could be some Crown Point.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm not in favor of that if that's the situation.
Okay, as my understanding that it's contemplated that the TIF will be used to help fund development within or serving that area. So roads, streets, these types of things, other public improvements that would be necessary for that development. And part of that development is the reason that the town would contemplate, although it hasn't taken action, the Redevelopment Commission is going to have to take a number of future actions to make this happen. But the reason the town would consider creating a TIF area for that is to help fund those improvements, to motivate development.
So the
And fund
reason we did the TIF two is in that same area, because that's the area that needs the improvements. It's not the Klein Avenue or the Klein and let me look at it a minute. I'm looking at my map here. Yeah, so the proposed TIF area 3, I don't see the need there to take that money away, because that's what we set up TIF 2 for. That's what TIF 2 is, runs right through there. It includes the Klein Avenue portion, and the county state covers the 109th portion. So I don't understand because you can only use TIF money out of TIF 3 for things that support that area. You can't use it on the other side of town.
No, you cannot.
We're gonna have,
I don't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm looking
all I
for
was
an
gonna say is
explanation
that,
why this
um,
would be reasonable.
So as I understand it, the approval that's being requested is for us to assist the town with exploring this and the Redevelopment Commission. So there will be additional information with regard to the projects that would be contemplated. The amount of TIF to be collected still has to be determined and estimated by Baker Tilly. So the engagement that you just approved for Baker Tilly is to allow that work that due diligence to be done and the analysis to be done. The same with this engagement is to allow us to assist the town in working through the description of the project, all that's going to be involved, having the developer come in and address the Redevelopment Commission, et cetera. So
So the action that we're taking tonight of establishing EDA 3,
you're not establishing EDA 3 tonight.
okay.
You're just simply the approval of the professional contracts to provide consulting services to
Okay,
the
and that's
RDC.
the same action that will be taken in the town council meeting then?
Correct, yeah,
So we're not establishing it, we're just setting it up to study.
correct.
Okay, I'm fine then.
Okay,
Okay, thank you,
thank
Mr.
you.
Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
thank you.
We had a motion, we had a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Motion carries 4-1. Reports and item 7, reports and correspondence. Mr. Billy, any reports or correspondence?
No reports today, Mr. President.
Item 8, do we have any public comment? Did anybody care to speak for the public comment for the RDC? Okay, item 9,
Motion to adjourn.
do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The RDC is adjourned. Call to order for the town council meeting for March 27th. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you can just stand for a moment of silence, especially remembering those in Baltimore tonight. Thank you. Item 5, approval of minutes. A, February 28th, 2024.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call, Ms. Beth?
Gerald Swatz,
Present.
Christian Jorgensen.
Present.
Mike Bovat,
Present?
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Ann Oster. Present. Bill Manasopoulos.
Here.
Joe Svetnov. And Beth Hernandez, present.
And then item 4, public comment. Did we have anyone for public comment? Yes, and if you could give us your name and your address, please.
I'm Cecile Petro, 8541 Fairway Drive, and I'd like to address your agenda item 8, C11. This concerns a use variance for 10045 Earl Drive for a storage facility. They wanted the council, they came with a favorable recommendation from the BZA, but they want the council to approve this, and I would like you to vote no on this one. Because I think, number one, this part of the plan was already set in motion for what this should be in that area, and that's commercial. This use is not commercial. Secondly, it sets a precedence. And these storage units are always looking for a place to land. And I think if you open this up in one area, you're going to have others come to the town and want this placed in a commercial area. Thirdly, I think this discourages future commercial growth in that area. So for these 3 reasons, I'm hoping that you will vote no and reject the BZA recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Item 5, approval of minutes, February 28th, 2024, meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 28th, 2024.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
I think we should have a discussion on it. You're talking February 28th meeting minutes?
Yes.
I think you look at it, and we've had this before, that the minutes should be in verbatim rather than, so we can be transparent, and it's easier, it makes it easier to research the minutes. You got on here public comment for Terry Nelman. Mr. Nelman provided comments with regards to a council member. Put the council member name in there. And I think you've done stuff too that you said you wanted, you didn't like it. So, I mean, that's up to you.
Well, we can vote, and we can vote to either approve or not approve the minutes. And we have a motion, we have a second. I appreciate your comments, Councilman Wayne. Let's go to the vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes as they stand, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
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 Minutes are not approved. Vote of 4-1, nay. Item B, March 11th, 2024, special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve.
Support.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. C, March 12th, 2024, special meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. March 20th, 2024, study session minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the March 20th, 2024 meeting minutes, study session.
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain. I wasn't there.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries 4-0, one abstain. I'm going to ask for a motion from the council to amend the agenda to approve ordinance 1822, agenda item 1 under ordinance and resolutions, to directly after ordinance 1823 due to the subject. So we would just, right after B, ordinance 1823, we would go to 1822.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, presentation TIF Management Report 2023.
So we have Andy Mauser on the line, who will be giving the TIF management report. Andy, could you hear us?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, and I will try to share my screen here. Give me just a moment. I apologize for joining virtually. I'm out of town this week, but I appreciate the opportunity to join virtually here today. Let's see if that...
So I have your, Andy, I have your report on the screen.
Okay. I will go ahead and run through that quickly, and certainly happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. So this is really a new requirement here this year. This is something that's been in place for the last few years, which is what's known as the April 15th report for redevelopment commissions. And it is really what I would consider a look back report. So here reporting in 2024, the Redevelopment Commission is required to report on 2023 activities. So really anything spent from the TIF dollars from January 1st of 2023 through the end of 2023. And then we hope to do sometime later this year would be more of a look forward report, looking forward kind of where the TIF areas are headed in the future. But again, this requirement is for just what happened with TIF dollars in the TIF areas in the past year. So on slide 2, you'll see just a list of the various reporting requirements that redevelopment commissions have to meet each year. This is kind of the second of what are now 6 different requirements. In the TIF management report this year, much like previous years, requires the Redevelopment Commission to file a report on its prior year activities. That has to be filed with the council and then also with the DLGF through the Gateway website. So that has to be done by April 15th of this year, and we will help take care of uploading all that information into Gateway. And then a new requirement this year is to have the report presented at a council meeting. So that's what we're meeting here this evening. Other requirements that we'll help with throughout the year are the pass-through determination, assistance with the TIF neutralization process. Many of you are probably aware there's a new Redevelopment Commission spending plan that will go into place this December for spending in 2025. And then, like I said, there is a requirement for an annual presentation that includes the overlapping taxing units. And that's what we would consider more of the look-forward presentation that we will plan on taking care of this summer sometime. So in the report, a number of pieces of information that have to be reported. On slide 3, you'll just see a list of Redevelopment Commission members in 2023. You do have to report on the names of any members that were active throughout the year, any members that were active for a portion of the year, and if the Redevelopment Commission maintains any employees. Last year, you had no changes in the redevelopment commission throughout the year, and then no permanent employees of the redevelopment commission. So again, on slide 3, you'll just see a list of those members. On slide 4, we are required to report on all allocation areas. So I know you currently maintain, TIF 1 and TIF 2. Within those, there are a number of different allocation areas, which you will see here. The original 4 sub-districts within EDA 1 that were set up dating back all the way to 1997. The 2014 expansion that consolidated those areas into what is now TIF 1. And then there's also a 2022 expansion within TIF 1 as well. And then within TIF 2, the original portion of TIF 2 that was set up in 2014, the northwest, southwest, and then the northeast area, which is also known as Orchard Gate, Sterling Gate, they were all set up in 2021. And then an area that was set up at the end of last year, the newest TIF area, is the 2023 Commons residential area. So we do report on all the different allocation areas and their establishment dates and then their expiration dates. You can see the town has a number of areas that will expire, here within the next decade, and then a number of areas that will continue on through 2043. And then you do have a number of allocation areas that have been established but do not have any debt that they are pledged to. So those 25-year or 20-year lifespans have not yet started on those TIF areas. We also have to report on the finances. So looking at your allocation areas, what you received as far as revenues, and then any expenditures from the TIF areas. EDA 1, where the majority of your TIF dollars come into, captured about $1.1 million. Last year, you spent about $581,000. EDA 2, much more modest, at about $82,000. And then you'll see the northwest, southwest, and Orchard Gate, Sterling Gate areas, as those are newer TIFs just now starting to collect. We do also report on your expenditures as far as the type of expenditure that was made. Your expenditures last year from TIF really fell into 2 categories, one being debt service. You can see about $420,000 of principal paid on the 2018 bonds and about $161,000 in interest. And then just other minor professional fees paid from the TIF as well. On slide 7, you will see your existing fund balances as of the end of the year. The redevelopment construction fund with about $21,000. TIF 1 allocation fund maintains a balance of just under $550,000. TIF 2, the TIF 2-3 fund with about $98,000. The age-restricted housing fund with about $48,000. And then you'll see just some minor balances, again, with collections just starting in the northwest, southwest, and Orchard Gate, Sterling Gate areas as well. You also have to report on any TIF distributed to other taxing units, which you did not have any in 2023. And then a new requirement this year is for any housing that was finished within any housing TIF areas. So within the Orchard Gate, Sterling Gate area, there were about 14 new homes finished last year at about $416,000 per home. The final piece of information is just reporting on debt payments. So the 2019 bonds, the only debt outstanding that's paid from the TIF, you can see again about $581,000 in total principal and interest paid on those. Those bonds will mature in February of 2031. And then you do have to report on total principal and interest outstanding, and that number is a little bit over $4.3 million outstanding on those bonds over the next about 7 years through their final maturity. So that's really all the information. Again, wanted to present that here tonight, and then we will assist with getting that uploaded into Gateway for submission here in the next couple of weeks prior to the April 15th deadline, but certainly happy to answer any questions you might have on the report.
Does anyone have any questions, comments? Or I was just going to make one comment. I want to make sure I understood you. You said that that is uploaded into the Gateway system?
Correct. correct. Yep, we have started uploading that information, and then we will work with Beth's office to make sure that gets submitted here in the next couple weeks prior to April 15th.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you for that report. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving to item 7, public hearing. A, resolution 2024-03-27. A resolution authorizing and directing the town council president to submit a project proposal for the community development block grant for federal fiscal year 2024. 1, proof of publication, town attorney.
Yes, we've been supplied the proofs of publication. They are in order. This is, they are correct, and you should proceed with the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Opening remarks, Mr. Dave Schilling.
Thank you, Mr. President. For those that are not aware, CDBG is Community Development Block Grant. That is federal funds distributed from HUD, which is the Department of Housing and Urban Development. In Lake County, those funds are distributed from the county itself to the towns. St. John gets about $80,000 every 2 years. There are a lot of restrictions on the use. One of those uses is ADA improvements, Americans with Disabilities Act improvements, and park improvements. So the 2022 grant is being used to complete the walking path around Gates Park. And one of the ideas for the 2024 grant that is due in April is ADA improvements.
Hey, Dave, could you turn your mic on?
Turned it off. I'm sorry. ADA and parking improvements at Prairie West Park.
All right. Any questions or comments for Mr. Schilling? He's a town engineer. All right, thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
We'd like to open this to the floor for public comment. Are there any public comments for the Community Development Block Grant? Okay, thank you. Number 4, we're going to close this to the floor. No more public comment. Number 5, consider motion to approve to approve resolution 2024-03-27. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Moving to B, ordinance 1823, an ordinance appropriating the proceeds derived from the sale of general obligation bonds of the town. Proofs of publication, number 1.
Mr. President, we reviewed the proofs of publication. They are in order, and we shall proceed with the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. Item 2, opening remarks, Mr. Phil Facenda.
Members of the council, Phil Facenda from Barnes and Thornburg. Both this ordinance and ordinance 1822 address the issuance of bonds, and then this ordinance is the appropriation of those bond proceeds. They are general obligation bonds of the town, and some details about the bonds. First and foremost, the projects to be financed with the bonds would be various road and street improvements throughout the town. And then also paying for the necessary costs of issuing the bonds. The total amount of the bonds is in an amount not to exceed $6 million. And they are for a period, a final maturity of not to exceed 15 years. And at an interest rate not to exceed 6%. That will be a tax exempt interest rate. As I mentioned, the necessity of a public hearing is because we are appropriating those proceeds as well so the bond ordinance will approve the bonds, and the appropriation ordinance will approve the appropriation of those bonds.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Phil. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, we'd like to open the floor to public comment. Any public comment at this time? We'll move to 4. Number 4, we're going to close the floor for public comment. No one chose to speak. And moving to 5, consider motion to adopt ordinance 1823 on second reading. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And this is the part of the agenda that we have amended. So we're going to go down to ordinances and resolutions. Number 1, consider ordinance 1822, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of bonds of the town for the purpose of funding the cost of certain road projects and expenses in connection with the issuance of the same on second reading. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Mr. President, do we have a list of the roads and stuff that the $6 million is going to go towards, or an idea of, or?
I think we have some of the roads.
So we have the list of roads. I can re-email them to you, Jay, if you need them. But they were sent out.
Yeah, I saw him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I may, it may not just be a list of roads. It may help match the NERC project that
Right.
we left unfunded from 2020. So it's, and it could possibly encompass both.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Beth.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now going back to 8 agenda items, financial matters of the corporation.
We're going to do a motion to adopt first.
To adopt.
That's what we just did.
For that, take care of it.
Mr. Jojo?
Joe, did that take care of it? For a motion to adopt? Second reading.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
so we're good.
All right.
Thanks.
So we did first.
Thank you.
We did first
Thank you,
last
Mr.
month.
Dorgus.
Yep. My bad.
Oh, we're good.
Problem.
Financial matters of the corporation. 1, consider approval of progress payment to First Group Engineering for the 93rd Avenue roadway from Kilman Street to 1,100 feet west of US 41 project in the amount of $2,772.87, and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from the ARPA fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a
second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 2, consider approval of progress payment to F.H. Panshin for the 93rd Avenue and US 41 roadway intersection improvement project in the amount of $62,565.62, and authorize the clerk treasurer to issue payment from the 2020 GO bond fund. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, second that.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, requests to purchase. There are a total of 20 requests to purchase in the combined total of $592,966.14 for approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 4, accounts payable voucher dated March 27th, 2024, representing payment for payroll, supplies, services, and equipment rendered to the town of St. John in the combined total of $2,016,202.90. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. B, ordinances and resolutions. Number 2, consider ordinance 1824 and ordinance amendment to ordinance 1396 as amended and affiliated annexation agreement and zoning commitment. Commitment. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, consider ordinance 1825,
Mr.
an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, Chapter 3, Section B, and Municipal Code 24.
Mr. President,
Yes.
might we consider that on second reading as well? The 1824?
So that was just the first reading?
That was just the first reading. If we
Okay.
could have a motion to suspend the rules and go ahead and adopt on second reading, that would be preferable.
Do we have a motion here to suspend the rules for a second reading?
So moved.
Motion to, yep. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second, and this would be a second reading of ordinance 1824. Consider ordinance 1824, and an ordinance amendment to ordinance 1396 as amended and affiliated annexation agreement and zoning commitment. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, you might want to first take the motion to suspend the rules, then do a separate motion to consider the ordinance on second reading.
Okay, we had a motion, we suspended the rules.
I don't think you took a vote, though.
I apologize, you are correct. Okay, I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, Mr. Joe. Now, consider ordinance 1824 and ordinance amendment to ordinance 1396 as amended and affiliated annexation agreement and zoning commitment. Do I have a motion on the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0 on second reading. Number 3, consider ordinance 1825, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, Chapter 3, Section B, and Municipal Code 24-24, repealing certain annexation language. We had a favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Mr. President, the zoning, the ordinance number itself should be 1840.
I think the code is 2442, not 2424.
Correct.
2442.
2442. The numbers were transposed, which is a Scrivener's error.
And the ordinance is 18.
The ordinance is correct. It's 1825.
It's correct on here, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
I do have a question on there. I actually have a comment on this one, because I just don't think that this is necessary to do. I think the way that the ordinance was set up before, previously and currently is fine. There was a comment about this last time that this ordinance kind of bounds a future council to the decision of the previous council, but that's really not true, because they can go through the BZA for a rezoning. I mean, this is because we had a 4-1 vote on an annexation, and I voted against it, so it came in as a R1, because that's the way the ordinance is set up. So to change this, you're taking away that right of a councilman to say, no, I don't think this decision should be made here. I think it needs to go to the BZA, because that's their job. They should approve it first before it comes through to the council for actually a rezoning. So that's, I like the idea of having a councilman have that ability, the way it's set up now, so that way I could exercise that vote, or anybody else could exercise that vote, and then it can be reviewed, and the zoning can be recommended by the BZA. So I'm going to speak against this.
Understood?
Mr. President, and this would be under a motion to adopt.
Okay.
Okay.
So going back to ordinance 1825, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, Chapter 3, Section B, and Municipal Code 2442, repealing certain annexation language, and we did have favorable recommendation from the Plan Commission. I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt.
Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion to adopt, and I feel it's certainly pertinent for us to take responsibility for that, rather than another citizen board who's not accountable to the people who are sitting here today or any others. We're the elected officials, and the buck stops with us. So I make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Jorgensen. Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1 to adopt. Do we need another reading on that, Mr. Joe?
Beth? No. I would suggest this time suspending the rules again and do a second reading to adopt. Or, I'm sorry, a second reading to
Yep.
motion.
But doesn't that require unanimous vote?
Correct, you take the vote, and if it doesn't come out unanimous, then we have to wait till next month to take to do the second reading.
But I just voted against it.
Right, but it passed the first time.
But it passed
So now to suspend the rules takes a unanimous vote. So if you vote nay to that, then we'll punt it on over till next month and
Okay.
then overrule you.
Okay.
Motion to suspend.
Joe,
We have a motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
The motion of suspension fails,
I don't think we
so
need
we'll
a
have to
second
take this up against next month for second reading.
okay, thank you, Mr. Joe.
Thank you.
Do we need a second reading? I wasn't sure if we needed a second reading on this one.
I don't think we need a second reading on that.
You don't?
No.
All right, passes on first.
Why not?
I'm sorry, and I have it in my notes.
It's an ordinance. It requires 2 readings.
Annexation by statute is sole authority of the town council. BZA has nothing to do with the rezoning.
We're not rezoning, we're changing an ordinance.
Of what kind of zoning it is.
Still an ordinance. An ordinance requires 2 readings to pass.
Okay, but we have passed this tonight, and appreciate everybody's
Okay.
input on that comment
Thank
there. Let's move to C,
Second reading.
council action. Consider motion to award bid for the Kielman Street and School Street intersection improvement project to Millstone Contractors North Incorporated. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder in the amount of $469,883.39 as recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Consider motion to award bid for the 2024 townwide resurfacing project to Reith Riley Construction. The lowest responsive and responsible bidder in the amount of $2,859,805.90 as recommended. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
I have a motion. I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, consider motion to approve FH Pension Change Order Number 6 for the roadway portion of the 93rd Avenue project from $2,882,282.49 to $2,882,232.82, a decrease of $49.67. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 4, consider motion to approve the Baker Tilly professional service agreements related to the GO bonds, Series 2024, establish certain allocation areas in EDA 1, and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, to establish certain allocation areas in the EDA 2, and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, and the establishment of the EDA 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Yeah, Mr.
All
President,
those in favor,
sorry, just wanted to make a comment. The same thing applies, my comments that I made at the RDA, that I'm not in favor of establishing EDA 3.
as he said, this is like,
I understand. I just want you to know why I'm voting against it, that's all.
okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1. Number 5, consider motion to approve the Barnes and Thornburg Professional Services Agreement to establish certain allocation areas in EDA 1 and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, to establish certain allocation areas in the EDA 2 and the issuance of economic development revenue bonds that may be associated therewith, and the establishment of EDA 3. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Item number 6, consider motion to approve a revised lease agreement with St. John Youth Baseball to extend the term of the lease from approximately 2 months to a term of 2 years as requested by St. John Youth Baseball.
Mr. President, the original lease that the Park Board and the Town Council approved was for 10 months. After that meeting, I met with representatives of St. John Youth Baseball, a couple members of their board. They asked for a term of 2 years and also some other language change. We went ahead and made that change. We sent it to them on, I believe, March 12th or 14th. They had a board meeting on the 18th that it wasn't discussed at, so we don't have a approval from them. But my recommendation is we move forward and approve this 2-year, and I will contact them again.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 7, consider motion to authorize the town manager to execute service weapon agreements with retired police officers. Favorable recommendation from the Police Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 4-1.
Mr. President, also, if I could add to that, the paperwork is just after the chief informs me and we get together, I sign off on it. If the council would like a ceremony to actually hand it over, that could be made possible.
All right, thank you, Mr. Billy. Number 8, consider motion to authorize payment to the Tri-Town Safety Village Incorporated in the amount of $36,400. Mr. Billy?
So I attended the first meeting with the Tri-Town Safety Village. I also had a meeting with Chief Sormas, who is their treasurer. From what Pete presented me from the time he took over till present date, everything looked on the up and up. I know that they are in the process of getting a audit done for the year that was requested of 2022 because the request was made in 2023. And they also provided me with some documentation of a prior audit that came about.
Okay, thank you for that. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion, and also to remain on the board of directors there is one of the reasons why I make that motion.
I'll support.
I have a motion, I have a second.
We have discussion.
Sure, go ahead. Mr.
I think, I like to propose that we pay $18,000, half, let the safety village show us where that $18,000 is going, and later on in the year, if they do an audit, we give them their other 18,000 and change. But I wanted to see an audit for the years 2017, 18, and 19. I think that's where there was some concern, and if we're donating all that money, they should be responsible to tell us where it's going. They should have some accurate figures. And none of us on this board are against this, the safety village. And just that had come up, and that's what I'd like to do. So I would like to make a motion that we pay $18,000 now. Hopefully by the end of the year or by fall, they'll have the other audit done, and then we should be good. But I would like to see the years 17, 18, and 19 done.
I feel like, and just to respond to that, Wayne, I feel like if we don't do it and we're not in qualification for staying on the board of directors, then we don't have a vote sufficient enough to carry through that audit. And it's my understanding that that would be and should be required, and that's why I say the entire amount. I want our full vote for the audit. I'm all in favor for the audit, so is everybody. And to do that, I don't think we'll be in good standing if we pay less on that amount, but I could be wrong.
But also, the document you have here shows their 2023 expenses, and it shows you where your money went.
I'm talking about the years 17, 18, and 19.
Well, that's, okay.
That's all I'm saying, Jerry.
But that has nothing to do with paying last year's money and this year's money so they can continue to operate and continue to bring the schools in. We are the board of directors of the safety village.
Last year, they didn't get any money from us, did they?
No, they didn't.
And they said they were gonna go belly up, but they didn't. Now, in our own police chief, I read a letter at the study session, said he's not for the safety village, doesn't want his name on there. He doesn't want to be because of the person that's running it. He says as long as that person's running, he doesn't want to be associated with it. So I think we should listen to our police chief, who's in charge of our town and public safety. And I'm willing to put in $18,000 and let them do their audit.
Well, I think everybody here.
But, everybody has their opinion, that's fine. But
I don't disagree with you, Wayne. Audit has to be done, and it will be done, as far as I understand it. I don't want to lose our place as a board member. And if we do in fact pay less and we're not officially a board member because we haven't contributed the required amount, then we will have a vote. And I want to make sure that we have that vote to conduct the audit that Pete says should be done. I've seen his email. I'm in agreement with it. And I think to get that accomplished, we need to proceed that way. Again, I agree with you completely. I just don't want to get hung up without a vote because we're not qualified as a board member for being in arrears. That's I mean, unless Joe, and you can tell me something else, I mean, that's my only concern, which is the reason
I think we've done
voted
it
for it.
before, divided it up in half. Maybe in 2019, we gave them so much, and then we did the other half later on in the year, but that was what I was thinking, but.
But did they do the audit in 19? Did they do an audit? No?
Well,
No, they've just called for the audit down.
yeah, they
So,
called up for it last year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to proceed. I want to make sure that we have the vote for it to make that proceed. And quite frankly, I don't know if we can split it up and still be in good standing and be a board member. That I don't know. If somebody could answer that question for me.
I know when we split it up in the past, Wayne, we gave them half of the money in the beginning of the year, and we gave them the other half halfway through the year. So we split it up in 6 months, but we still had our payment done before the end of the year. We're a whole year in arrears at this point. So that's why it needs to get done.
Well, I appreciate everybody's comments. Mr. Wayne, you make a good point here. Mr. Christian Jorgensen, you make a great point also. But the motion on the floor is for the $36,400. Do I have a motion to move forward to pay the Tri-Town Safety Village $36,400?
So moved.
And I second it.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, just before the vote goes, could we specify that it is for the 2024, the year of 2024,
Sure,
that those funds are going to?
we can do that.
That's fine. I amend or who made the motion? Did I second it?
You seconded it, I made it.
Okay. You want to amend it and just say it's specifically for 2024?
I make a motion to make the payment to Tri-Town Safety Village for the year of 2024.
And I second it.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 9, consider motion to authorize contributions to Lake Central Dollars for Scholars and Hanover Central Education Foundation in the amount of $1,000 each. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Number 10, consider motion to grant a special exception at approximately 475 feet east of Park Place and US 231, allowing the use of church place worship for Suncrest Christian Church within an R2 PUD zoning district and US 231 overlay district. There was a favorable recommendation from the BZA. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 11, consider motion to grant a use variance at 10045 Earl Drive, allowing the use of a self-storage facility for Chicago Storage 100 LLC within a C-2 zoning district and the US 41 overlay district. Favorable recommendation from the BZA. Do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I'll happily make that motion. It is commercial. When that overlay was set up, it was for an expansion of a big box. That's certainly not going to happen in that space. This facility, located where it is with off-site access, hull prick, well done, is certainly commercial. And the town, again, is in desperate need for commercial revenue. And it fits perfectly where it is that we're going. So I'm happy to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I second.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Yeah, Mr. President, I would like to speak against the motion. I think that to put a warehouse type of facility in our commercial corridor on 41 is not a good idea. It's not a good use. I think it can be built better in commercial. There was comment, I think, from the BZA about the fact that it's been vacant property for 10 years. Well, I think it's been vacant for more than that. It's been vacant since as long as that built property's been there. The problem is that area is building up. Planet Fitness just went in there. That's a brand-new area. That's a brand-new expansion area. Arby's just went in there. So I think we need to keep that as commercial, not turn it into a warehouse space. If you look at the BZA minutes, the two returning members from the BZA are the two that voted against this. This was a 3-2 vote from the BZA, not a unanimous. So the two nays were the two existing BZA members that are familiar, I think, better familiar with what our...
We're familiar with that, Jerry. We're familiar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then my comment stands as it is.
And I understand it too. And it has been vacant for a very, very long time. And if the town isn't going to collect commercial revenue for a spot that fits it perfectly,
That's what we're debating, whether it fits perfectly or not.
Well, we got the
we're not
motion.
here, and we're not here to choose between whether or not it's a facility that we like or would prefer, or wouldn't like or prefer. It's whether or not it fits. So, I mean, if it was a head shop, would you say yes? I mean, I don't know. We don't really necessarily have the.
That doesn't fit into the commercial overlay either. That's why we're here today to vote on this, because this use does not fit into a commercial overlay.
And certainly nothing else has happened to it. So this would be a preferred use for me because it's going to generate revenue. And again, that's something we desperately need. So, looks good to me.
And-
Anyway, there's a.
Yes, we
Mr.
got
President, I'm
we got
sorry.
the motion, and we've had commentary on it. I think it is a commercial venture, and I think it's something that's going to generate revenue for the town. I think it's something that is needed and that people have asked for, and it's gonna do what it's intended to do. We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Moving to item 9, reports and correspondence. Anyone in the council care to have any comments or anything to say?
I'll make a couple comments. I'd like to thank Angela, who's the town manager's secretary, for all the hard work that she does, putting all these agendas together, then having to take them apart and go back and forth and getting ready for the meeting. I appreciate that. We have 4 water main projects that are going to start, hopefully in April. And the media replacement, I think, is going to begin next week on the treatment plants. So that'll increase our water production from 3.5 gallons a minute to 6 gallons a minute. So that'll greatly help the town.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just had one comment, and that was, earlier in the meeting, I asked about questioning where the $6 million was going to go for, and I noticed it already was in the ordinance, it's already listed in there, so I apologize for wasting our time on that one, on that question. So, that's all.
You got a guy from engineering firm, if he wants to speak for the first group.
Yeah. Anyone else? I'd just like to say that appreciate all the effort here tonight and thank our town council, or our town attorney, Mr. Joseph Fessenhoff. Appreciate your input and keeping us on the path here a little bit. Everybody's banter and trying to do the right thing. Appreciate all the public comments and everything that everybody's brought here tonight. We also have someone kind of well-known, I guess, to the council. Mr. Evan, if you care to come up and speak. He's speaking on the 93rd Street project. We'd like to give him an opportunity to say something this time.
We just wanted to let everyone know we're just waiting on temperatures. The only remaining pay items we have are really temperature-based. We can't really go until we get 45 degrees and rising, and with the cold temperatures in the morning, we're just not going to get anything done. We checked in with our stripers. They're not striping anything anywhere in the state right now. It's still too cold, so it's coming. We have to finish the NDOT right-of-way work by May 1st. Our permit was already extended, so we're working with Hawk as soon as we get some good days out there to get those poles painted, and then we'll be done with our NDOT work. So just wanted to report that tonight and let everybody know that we're still got a few things out there, but not the luminaire, the lights are up. Those will be charged up here in a couple weeks now that you guys have approved the outlets. We'll start getting everything energized, and the lights will be back on here in hopefully a few weeks.
Did I hear you say you're waiting on the weather?
Yeah, exactly. That blizzard here in April, I'm sure, just like when I was younger, we had one of those years.
Good luck.
You're going to do some cosmetic surgery on the roadway itself?
Correct. We're meeting on site with Reith Riley sometime next week. They were out this week, so we'll be talking to them about potential punch list items that cleaning up some of the nonsense that's occurring currently. So we will be taking a correction to that.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to our meetings.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, if I can make a clarification comment, if I can at this time. Generally, under Indiana law, when you consider an ordinance, it usually takes 2 readings, except for, as an example, 1825 tonight. 1825 is an amendment to the zoning ordinance. It only takes 1 reading, not 2. That was my mistake. I own it. But at this time, it only takes 1 vote, and you voted affirmatively 4-1 to go ahead and pass that amendment. So I just want a clarification on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. Appreciate that.
Billy, you know that one.
Mr. Billy?
No reports at this time.
And our clerk treasurer, Ms. Beth Hernandez.
Just the following statement to please be incorporated into tonight's meeting minutes. On February 23rd, all council members received by email a copy of our 2023 annual financial report for review. On or around that same time, it was uploaded to Gateway, and our cash and investment statement was properly noticed in the newspapers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beth. Item 10, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We're not voting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.